Well, I've come up here to Hyde Park, little test ride, and talk about why you would or wouldn't think about doing a hot wax on your chain as opposed to oil. Dry wax doesn't attract dirt and dust and grime, so it stays a lot cleaner. So if you need to take your bike indoors, on public transport, anything like that, and you don't end up getting oil on things, so on clothing or anything like that. Another reason, the wax does actually give you a very slight better anti-friction, so I'm maybe somewhere around 1% or something like that. That little bit of extra power, a little bit of extra speed. It is nice and smooth, and you can tell you feel the difference when you put a freshly waxed chain on. It's really smooth. There's a few reasons why you might go against it. The top one is going to be that if it's raining, it's a bit of a pain because the rain does actually get in between the links, and then just put it into top gear, spin it backwards, flick as much of the water off as you can, and then hold a dry paper towel against the chain to clear off any of the excess water, sort of knock it out and dry it off, otherwise it's going to go rusty pretty quickly. That's the reason that I have more than one chain, so I'll have 2 or 3 waxed, so if it does rain that evening when I get home, I'll swap it out and put another one, fresh one, on for the next day. It's fairly easy to swap. It only takes a couple of minutes with the quick link. Pop the quick link open, run the chain off, and link it back, so it's not difficult. And then when you're preparing the chains, it doesn't really take any much more time to do 2 or 3 as it does to do 1. Another thing which is con is going to be the amount of time that it takes just to get a brand new chain fully clean. So these 2 brand new chains that I've put on now, what I had to do was soak them overnight in white spirit, gave them a good agitation several times just to get the factory lubricant out of them so that the wax would adhere to the chain. Really important to give it a very deep clean, make sure all the lubricant's out of there before you start trying to put it into a wax bath, otherwise it's just not going to work. What would I do differently next time? Prepare everything a little bit sooner, so have the wax melted and hot before I start. Have the ultrasonic warmed up, ready to go. In between the water and the wax, just put it through the alcohol just to drive the water out, so it doesn't go rusty. Other than that, very happy. I get a lot of miles out of these chains, and just switch them over every now and again. So yeah, particularly if it's been wet or raining, switch it out to a new one. Okay, well, it's been about a week so far, and as you can see, all still looks nice and clean. Over here on the chain, so if I take my fingers and I can just rub that on the chain, no way you would do this with an oil chain. You can see there just a few tiny little bits of flaky wax, and that's about it. So nice and clean. It's got the chains, they've had their wash, white spirit and dish soap, and they're just hanging up to dry, getting ready to go into the hot wax. They've been hanging up to dry, and just getting ready to put them into the hot wax. So that's in just a regular sort of crock pot, and just enough to cover the chains, and they'll soak in there, and then I'll hang them up to cool after the wax has been able to penetrate into all the links. Just decided to speed up the drying a little bit by setting it on top of the lid of the wax pot. A little bit of heat will drive the moisture out, and should be ready a little bit quicker. Now this is the old wax that I've been using. As you can see, it's got a bit of dirt and muck and stuff in there, so since I've got a couple of new chains, candles are cheap, I'm just going to replace the wax completely and start completely fresh. This is the bottom side of the wax. It's the top there, that's the bottom, so when it cools all of the contaminants just sink down to the bottom, but you can see there's still a bit of stuff on the inside of it. So normally what I do is melt it a little bit and then scrape this off and reuse it. But, like I say, new chains, might as well do a complete refresh. The wax that I've put in here is just a basic candle, paraffin wax candle, and that's pretty much all I use. I know there's some additives, some people can put Teflon and stuff like that in there, but this is, seems to work for me, works quite well. Using a kitchen knife to break up the candles, and then I'll put the pieces into the pot to melt. Break it up into bits. And pop them into there and start melting down and have a nice clean wax. Okay, so we've got the candle chunks in there. Just let that melt away. Put the lid back on with the chains on top that are still drying, and come back to this. Might take, I don't know, maybe half an hour or so, maybe a bit more to melt. Okay, so just a little progress report on the wax. Starting to melt, so hopefully it won't be too much longer, and then we can put the chains in. Okay, so I want to get these in because actually I've just noticed a tiny bit of rust starting to form on the surfaces, so I'll put them in. And hopefully they'll get coated pretty quickly. Okay, not ideal, because rust is exactly the sort of thing that you don't want on your chain. I guess I left it out in the air too long trying to dry it. Anyway, I've put it into the wax now. Hopefully that'll melt soon. I've got a little bit of a coating on there to hopefully slow it down, and I'll check back in a while when it's all melted up. So a little update, it's been melting there for a while. Just been coming every now and again and just giving a little stir, breaking up the pieces of wax. There's a melt when it's broken up. So I've still got a little while to go yet, and then when it's all properly hot, you see little bubbles are starting to come out already. Bubbles are coming out, the air's coming out from within the links. So when it gets properly hot, it'll seep into the joints properly, and then be ready to lift out and cool. So the temperature I use on this thing is this heat setting number 3, and have a look here. So that's about 80 degrees Celsius, so roughly, and that seems to work quite well. It's hot enough that it melts into all the links, and it doesn't seem to be too hot that it damages the wax. Okay, so just want to get all the air bubbles out, and I want to hang it up for a little bit and then size it. So I just cut the extra links off because they're new, and maybe I'll need to put it back in again after, let's see, maybe not. So I'm just hooking it out with this piece of old coat hanger, lift it up, and just hang that. I've got a piece of old cardboard down there. I'm just going to hang it up here on this hook. It's just to stop the dribbles. I'm just hanging it up on the door here. It's too hot to touch to be able to untangle that, so I'll untangle it. I might put it back in again after. So I've got the old chain here just to get the right length with my chain breaker tool. So both hanging side by side. Come down to here, and then you can see there which link needs to be taken off. You can see the stretch in the old chains quite a bit. Up the top here, the two links are even. As we get going down, you can see this one's quite a bit longer. It's almost half a link of stretch in there. It's quite a lot. So the chain just goes into the tool like that, and then twist the handle to push the pin through. And you loosen it off, and the pin has come out. We can now just pull it apart, and we've got the new chain the correct length. So I'm just going to do the same thing with the other one. Okay, well, I've cut both chains, put in the quick links. Old chain, new chain, other new chain is in here, and I'm just heating the wax back up again, and then we'll give it a good stir, and then we can pull it out and let it dry, and then put one on the bike. Okay, so it's all melted again, and now I just need to get it out and hang it up, and I can put the next one in. So I'll just give it a little bump, get all the air bubbles out. Now it's nice and flat, there's just one chain in here, so it's going to hopefully be a little bit easier to get it out in one go. I'm just hooking through the links here. Second link there. Try that again. I just want to get through two links because it's joined together. Here we go, and then hopefully we'll be able to just lift it up without any loops, which I've done. And now move it across to the hook. I've got weighting over here above the cardboard to catch any drips, and that'll just hang there and cool and harden, and meantime I'll put the next one in. Alrighty, so that one's done, all cooled off. You can see if I turn it on its side, it's kind of one solid lump because all of the joins have the wax in them holding them together. So now what I need to do is go through and just bend bend each of the joints backwards and forwards to break up the wax, and then I can fit it onto the bike. So I normally do that over the rubbish bin, or inside a bag or something like that, or outside or whatever, just so that you don't get the little flakes of wax everywhere. Yeah, each joint just needs to be bent just to loosen it and free it up. Okay, so we've got the second chain here. It's been here for a while. I've just given it a little mix to knock any remaining air bubbles out, and just want to do the same thing. So grab it through a couple of links up here, and then lift it out. Hopefully we won't get any tangles in this one either. Perfect. And then I can just bring that over and hang it above the cardboard the same as the previous one, just to let that cool off. Alright, excellent. And this first one, we've given that a really good sort of bend and twist in all of the joints. There's a lot of flakes that came off it, but now it's really nice and silky smooth, and hopefully got a good lot of lubrication inside the joints. Now time to put it on the bike. Okay, that's it. Job done. So one question, I guess, is going to be why would I use wax instead of oil? The main reason is cleanliness. This is the rear freewheel hub. Yes, it's dirty, but I've not cleaned it, and this has had maybe 2,000 or 3,000 miles on there. Only ever waxed chains, never had any oil on it. And the build-up, you can see it's just a little bit of road grime and the wax. So yeah, that's the main reason, is the wax keeps everything clear. It doesn't attract too much dirt and dust. Keeps the chain clean, keeps the gears clean, and it doesn't leave an oily mess or anything like that if you touch anything. So yeah, main reason is cleanliness. So I've just spent a minute with a plastic brush, just giving that a scrub. No solvents, no water, no liquid or anything. And as you can see, most of that just brushes off because it's just simply road grime. So yeah, easy to clean, doesn't attract dirt, and pretty well stays clean, doesn't get all gunky and oily.